Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We are driving home from work on a Wednesday. We are talking about some good old WCW. I know that honestly we've been talking about WCW more than anything on this channel as of late. It's like I've reincarnated myself as Gemini 686, talking about the good old days of WCW. I think that honestly it has a lot to do with that Who Killed WCW. I don't know if it was a docuseries, a documentary, an actual show, whatever you want to call it. But basically, I think that's what really got the fuel fire, thinking about those WCW memories of the other day. And we've been really hitting it hard the last couple of weeks on the Road Wild pay-per-views. The first one, honestly, really good. That was the start of the NWO. This one here, I believe, is the last one. Road Wild 1999. Kind of a dull time in the period of WCW. I really believe that the main event, the blow-off match, should have been one of the biggest matches in the history of WCW. And instead, they kind of just rolled over and played it as just like another show, just another match. But this was like the first and honestly one of the only times I can really thank Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash getting in the ring. This one here honestly was built up as who was the true leader of the NWO, who was the most important piece of the NWO. Was Hogan the third man that put them over the top? Was Hall and Nash the reason that Hogan got on top and stayed on top? Who was the most important leader? And you're thinking like the NWO, they were born at Bash at the Beach 1996. Here we are 3 years down the road. We saw like the NWO go on that, that big heater of a run. When they first got there, they're beating Team WCW in Fall Brawl's War Games. They're going to Starrcade against Roddy Piper. They're going to Starrcade against Sting. 96 and 97, they were almost untouchable. Other than a few matches here and there. We talked about the Piper match, we've talked about the Sting match, but nobody was really ever to get one over on them. And then when things kind of started getting rocky in there, and Hogan was trying to make sure that he was always on top. He had the fallout with the Macho Man, and then he wasn't getting along with Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash and the Macho Man split from the NWO to join their own NWO, the Wolfpack. They get, WCW veterans, Sting and Luger, to join the group. And they're really not about, killing WCW. I never really understood why Luger and Sting joined the group, other than maybe they just had a problem with Hollywood Hulk Hogan at the time, and they just didn't want to have him to be in power. But why didn't, the Wolfpack, they put themselves against WCW in like the War Games match well, when they were going after the World Heavyweight Championship. So why do they really need to join the group? I don't know. Well, let's scrap all that. But there was a lot of times to really have the blow off of the NWO angle, but instead, like, this isn't even the end of the NWO. The NWO would come back, I believe, in another reincarnation after this, and that one barely even got off the ground. That one was honestly supposed to be Jeff Jarrett, Bret Hart, Hall and Nash. That ends up, because of injury right off the bat, that it ends up just being Jarrett and the Harris brothers. And, it's pretty much, Team TNA, but we don't even really know it at the time. But, I don't know. It's kind of crazy that these guys go up against each other. Hogan At this time, he had, brought back the red and yellow. He was no longer donning the NWO Hollywood name. I think that this is what he thought was going to be the last run for him. However long it lasted, I think that Hogan was thinking that when this run was done, he was probably going to be hanging it up, because I think he had pretty much milked everything out of Hulk Hogan that there is. I don't think he really knew that there would be another NWO run in 2002 with WWE. I don't think that right off the bat that they would put him back in the red and yellow, and we'd be Hulk still rulesing in 2002, and he actually wins the WWE Championship, and what I think is just I have no idea what's going on in WWE in 2002 if Hogan's winning the belt right off a fresh returning Triple H, and then dropping the belt right to the Undertaker, which I think goes into a feud with Brock Lesnar, so that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it is what it is. Hall and Nash, no, not Hall and Nash, because Scott Hall is nowhere to be seen. It would make a lot of sense if Scott Hall would be some sort of piece of the puzzle here, whether if he's going to side with Hogan, how he did through the NWO Hollywood versus Wolfpack split, or if he's going to side with his brother, Kevin Nash, who he's been in the trenches with from the WWE days of Razor Ramon and Diesel. But these guys, they go in there. This is Road Wild. They're in front of all the bikers out there in the crowd in one of the Dakotas. I can't remember if it's North Dakota or South Dakota. They put on a wrestling match that is, I don't even want to say it's out of the 80s. These guys lock up inside of the ring, doing the test of strength, and it's just punches and kicks. This whole match, there's probably 5 bumps throughout the whole thing. One of the best matches on this show actually ends up being the Macho Man against Dennis Rodman in what I think is supposed to be a wrestling match, but it ends up being like a Falls Count Anywhere ordeal. I really like the match then. I really like the match now, but this Nash versus Hogan thing, I don't know if it's a that don't work for me brother kind of deal, but the stipulation for the match to put it over the top is that whoever loses this match, their career is on the line, which is supposed to be bigger than the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. You want to go behind the scenes, which I did not know at the time, is that Kevin Nash is actually becoming the booker of WCW. He's going to be helping out because Eric Bischoff, he just has too many, too much stuff burning on the stove all at one time, and to get WCW back in line, Kevin Nash agrees to start being the booker. I don't think he did a horrible job. A lot of people said that it really didn't help that WCW was in a lot of trouble at the time, and he really didn't have any ideas to really get it back on the fire and get it really burning. But WWF was throwing so much competition at them at the time with a roster of like Sting. Sorry, no, we're looking at WCW there, you idiot. Hold on. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, The Rock, Triple H, Kurt Angle. They had so much stuff going on that WCW was really going to need a miracle in the making. There was no fresh stars that were going to come on the scene, and for some reason they weren't really pushing the stars out of the mid card. And of course, sooner than later, you're going to have Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero. They're all going to jump and be wrestling in the WWF by the time WrestleMania 17 comes around. So, I mean, they're really going to be the guys that WWF were able to dust off and say, yeah, these guys are main event stars. They just don't have room for them, I guess is the best way, because nobody in the Millionaires Club, which is going to be coming later as well, is willing to step out of the way and let these guys through. Bad match. Kevin Nash loses this match. His retirement only lasts as long as his booking reign is there. As soon as he is removed from being the booker of WCW, he's brought back on the roster. You go and watch Kevin Nash commentates Thunder. That is the last episode of Thunder where he is in charge as booker, and I don't even know what to say his mood is at the time. I think he's not mad that they're taking him out of booker. I don't think he thought his career was going to be a booker of WCW for the rest of his career. I think that he knew he had, good matches left in the tank as a wrestler. But the guy throws a party out there where he basically just says anything that he ever wanted to say. It's good commentary. It's bad commentary. He's making jokes. He's making bad jokes. He's making jokes that shouldn't be so funny. Be real funny. It just is. But this match here, bad. Horribly bad. Nash hits Hogan with a jackknife powerbomb, which is like the same move that the dudes beat, Scott Steiner and Goldberg and other guys with in the company. The Giant. Hogan just hulks up, just starts throwing right hands at him. Big boot, leg drop. 1, 2, 3. Hulk Hogan is your champion. I don't even know where they go from here. I mean, I'm guessing that Russo's going to be in charge, and the Bash at the Beach is going to be coming up around the corner with Jarrett and Hogan, and that's going to be the end of Hogan in WCW. So nothing good comes out of this, and bad. Should have been huge. If you really think about it, the NWO in 1996 was one of the biggest angles that I ever lived through, that really, wasn't like a flash in the pan kind of thing that was like really hot for like a month, and the pay-per-view came, and then it was just like on to the next thing. The NWO grew like week after week. It was must-see nitros. Pay-per-views, honestly, other than like a few of the ones at the start with like Bash at the Beach where Hogan joined, and then of course like then they go to the Fall Brawl War Games that we mentioned where they beat Team WCW when Sting walked out, and then they ended up beating the Horsemen, which was it wasn't even like their A team. It was like Nash 6, Conan was in there. Who else was out there with that NWO team? But it really wasn't. It wasn't Hogan. It wasn't Hall. It was kind of like a surprise that it was like, oh, there we go. Oh, that's the one where the Hennig joined. So it's like it just kept going, and for Hogan and Nash to get in the ring, they had already done the finger poke of doom. But that was like a one-night thing. It was only built up for about, an hour that they were going to have a match. This one was like week-long, nitros and thunders. And, it was supposed to be the blow-off of the NWO. And it never really came to be. So, surprising. Hey, like I said, NWO popped up later with NWO 2000. And it was kind of like, well, we got nothing else, so let's just try this. Peace out, guys.